world lost in darkness from your DeenVibe YouTube series. In the quiet hush of a world long forgotten, a darkness settled over the earth. Not a darkness of the sky, but a darkness of the soul. Generations had passed since the time of Prophet Adam alayhi salam. His children had spread across the earth, filling valleys and building cities. But with every passing century, something precious faded: the remembrance of Allah. At first, the people were righteous. They followed the truth. They loved their Lord and honored His signs. They respected wise men, saints, teachers, worshippers, men of prayer who reminded them of the Akhirah. When these men passed away, the people missed them deeply, and so they built statues in their honor, not to worship, but to remember. But Shaitan waits with patience. He whispered gently, "Do you want to feel close to the righteous? Bow your heads when you pass their statues." And soon, remembrance turned to reverence. Reverence turned to ritual, and ritual turned to worship. Idols were born, false gods were named, and Allah's name was forgotten. Allah say, "And they said, never leave your gods Wad or Suwa or Yahuth and Ya'uk and Nasr." Surah Nuh 71:23. These were once righteous men. Now their names were symbols of shirk. The world fell into heedlessness. The poor were oppressed. The weak were ignored. Injustice roamed the land like a hungry beast. And Allah, in His wisdom and mercy, sent a man with a heart full of light, a man who cried for the people even as they mocked him, a man who would build something no one had ever seen because he saw what no one else could. Life lessons. Even the purest intentions can lead to misguidance if not grounded in Tawheed. Shaitan does not rush you into sin. He leads step by step. Be aware. Societies collapse not when skies darken, but when hearts forget their Lord. A fading ancient civilization under a twilight sky. Grand statues rising in dusty towns. People bowing before stone idols as an old man watches silently, heartbroken. The landscape feels spiritually hollow. A child gazes upward as if searching for something more. This was not just a time in history. This is what happens when truth is forgotten. And into this world of darkness, Allah sent Nuh alayhi salam, not just to call them, but to save them from a flood that would wash away more than just land.
Return to the one who created you. In the midst of a world drowning in idols, a voice rose like light piercing the fog. It was not the voice of a king, nor a warrior, nor a scholar from the high courts of men. It was the voice of a man chosen by Allah. Nuh alayhi salam, the first prophet sent after Adam. He stood before his people, before neighbors who once knew him as a child, before elders who had watched him grow, and he called out. Allah says, "O my people, worship Allah. You have no deity other than Him. Indeed, I fear for you the punishment of a tremendous day." Surah Al-Araf 7:59. It was the first public call to Tawheed, the oneness of Allah, after generations of silence. But they looked at him and they laughed. "You, a prophet, we've known you since you were a boy. Don't disturb our gods, Nuh." They didn't argue with logic, they argued with pride. But Nuh alayhi salam didn't stop. He called them day and night, in public and in secret, with gentle words and tearful pleas. Allah says, I invited them openly and I spoke to them in private. Surah Nuh 71, 8-9. He wasn't calling them to himself. He was calling them back to the fitra, the pure nature that Allah created in every soul. He wasn't asking for power. He was begging them to be saved. Life lessons? True dawah comes from the heart, not from ego. Call people with mercy, not arrogance. You don't need to be famous to speak the truth. You just need conviction. Sometimes the hardest people to guide are the ones closest to you, but never stop trying. Prophet Nuh stands humbly among a crowd in a sunlit village square, his arms raised in sincere prayer, face glowing with sincerity. Around him, elders look away, youth mock him, and mothers pull their children back. Yet a few children watch curiously, drawn to his light. The first call to Tawheed was not shouted, it was wept. It came from a heart that loved his people more than they loved themselves. But in the face of such love came only ridicule. And so the test began.
They called him a liar. How does it feel to be hated for speaking the truth? To pour your soul into a people and be repaid with mockery, slander, and exile. That was the life of Prophet Nuh alayhi salam. He called his people to the mercy of Allah, and they called him a fool. He begged them to leave idols, and they accused him of madness. Allah said, the elite of his people said, we see you in clear error. Surah Al-Araf, verse 60. They dismissed him, not because his message lacked truth, but because it threatened their comfort. The idols gave them power. The culture gave them control. And Noah's voice disturbed their illusion. Allah said, they said, shall we believe you when only the lowest follow you? Surah Al-Shu'ara, verse 111. They didn't want truth, they wanted status. But Nuh alayhi salam stood with patience. He didn't scream back. He didn't curse. He stood with sabar, with dignity, and with tears that only Allah saw at night. Allah say, I have called them, but each time I call them, they put their fingers in their ears and covered themselves with garments. Surah Nuh, verse 7. Imagine that. People not just ignoring the truth, but hiding from it. Life lessons. When you speak the truth, you may lose people, but never lose yourself. Patience in dawah is not optional. It is the path of every prophet. Truth is often lonely before it is victorious. A wide village square. Prophet Nuh stands calmly as tribal leaders mock him before a crowd. Some children throw stones. A few poor believers gather behind him silently. The sky is cloudless, but his eyes are full of rain. They laughed, they shouted, they called him insane. But Nuh alayhi salam knew he wasn't speaking for their applause. He was speaking for their salvation. Even when they covered their ears, He never stopped calling their hearts.
When patience becomes a lifetime, how long would you keep trying to guide someone who ignores you? 1 year? 10 years? Maybe a lifetime. Prophet Noah, alayhi salam, called his people for 950 years. Not a typo. 950 years. 1,000 minus 50. That's not just a number. It's a story of pain, patience, and undying hope. Allah says, "And indeed we sent Noah to his people, and he remained among them 1,000 years, less 50. Surah Al-Ankabut 29, verse 14. He saw entire generations live and die in disbelief. He buried friends. He witnessed children grow into men and then mock him like their fathers had. He never gave up. Day and night, public and private, soft and firm, hopeful and weeping. He called them to worship Allah alone, seek forgiveness, receive rain and gardens and children. Surah Nuh 71, verse 10 to 12. But they replied with stubbornness, not just refusing, but resisting. Allah says, "And they plotted an immense plot and said, 'Do not leave your gods.'" Surah Nuh 71, verse 22-23. And Noah alayhi salam, he stood there in the flood of rejection and kept planting seeds of truth, even when no one stayed to watch them grow. Life lessons. Patience isn't just about waiting. It's about not giving up on the truth, no matter how long it takes. Dua is not always rewarded in this life, but it is always written by Allah. Keep doing good, even when the world stops watching, because Allah is watching. A montage of years passing. Prophet Noah in different seasons, calling people as he ages slowly. Trees change color. Children grow into men and die. People ignore him, but he remains alone, praying, preaching, enduring. 950 years. Not of comfort, but of calling. Not of ease, but of eternal effort. And still, his people turned away. But Noah alayhi salam showed us, even if the whole world rejects you,